everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, we
That's
can hear you.
perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I invite the cycle to the co-host, so and Claire, you accept it.
Yeah, I will tell my team. Yeah.
Hey.
Hello. So I think all the gesture is all be here. So let's move to the moonlight, and I think we can start our Twitter space on time.
Of course, that is great. And let me double check everyone's connection over here. Let's follow. Yeah, we hear Maggie over here, and let's check Clara. Can you hear us? Would you like to check your mic?
Hello, hello. I'm Clara. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's
Okay,
perfect.
perfect.
And hi, Tabasco. Would you like to check your mic before we officially start the session?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes. And let's also check with Bernd. Hello.
Good night. Can you hear me?
Yeah, nice. Okay, sounds like we are all in different time zones. Perfect.
Yes.
Nice. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay. So we have about 1 minute to officially start it. Before we officially start our session, we kindly wanted to ask everyone to help us to share the space link so more audience can join us. And we also live streaming Binance Live. Right now I see that we have another we have a few thousands of live viewers over there as well. And friends, if you would like to come to our Twitter space, you will have a chance to win today's prize. I see that we got a 50 USDT giveaway. And if you could follow Cypher, like retweet, take 3 friends, and also join Cypher's Telegram group as well as the Discord server and post a constructive question, then you have a chance to win. That is awesome. Okay, and the time is about 11 a.m. in Hong Kong time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. Let's officially start the session. And welcome everyone to today's event. We are going to talk about chain abstraction, server abstraction, and what exactly is abstraction. This is Moonlight, head of community at Nimble Network. I'm thrilled to host today's session. Over here, we have Maggie, so Zephyr Network, Clara, head of business domain in Asia at Cycle Network, also head of global relations at Particle Network, and Bernd, founder of Zion. Today, we'll dive deep into the complex yet very important concept of abstraction and explore its role in simplifying user operations, enhancing interoperability, and driving blockchain adoption. Everyone, be sure to stay engaged and prepare your question for our amazing panel and also great prizes. Let's kick off things with our speakers' introductions. And we are going to follow the order on our banner. So first, I would like to invite Maggie, the CEO at Zephyr Network, to introduce yourself. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So my name is Maggie. I'm one of the co-founder at Zephyr and also COO at Zephyr Network. And before we started building Zephyr at the beginning of last year, I spent like 5 or 6 years in crypto building some of the really good layer one protocols and ZK protocols. And before that was in investment banking, focused on M&A, and before that was in school. And really appreciate Moonlight for hosting the space, and Amber, who is actually using the Zephyr Network account. And everyone, please go follow our official account, and there will be more information about what Zephyr is building in the official bio. And really big shout out to all the other guest speakers here. You guys are some of the really top projects in the space, and really appreciate you guys taking the time to do this space with us. So Zephyr is a data protocol for decentralized games, and we use ZK co-processing and in parallel acceleration to help scale the gaming experience. And we provide a few very, very unique things for both game developers and gamers, from verifiable data to like universal um, game assets that is like verifiable in any of the chain, and to server abstraction, meaning a lot of the games that we support, they do not have a centralized server. They have everything stored in the DA layer or on chain in ZK proofs. I guess I'll touch base on more details later. And thank you so much, Moonlight.
Thank you so Maggie for the introduction. We definitely like to learn more about Zephyr. And next, we would like to invite Clara, the Psycho Networks head of BD in Asia. Thank you.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Clara from Psycho Network, and our chain abstraction solution focuses more on unifying liquidity and fundamental virtualization from day one. And we offer bridgeless liquidity abstraction through a verifiable state aggregation. So for the projects such as apps and chains, we provide a secure and reliable way to aggregate liquidity and facilitate user acquisition across chain, and avoid repetitive deployment via one unified interface. And for users, you can get lower slippage and higher yield with the liquidity aggregation. And of course, better UX because the cross-chain house will be abstracted away. And also, thanks to our community, we have achieved 300K user base across more than 20 networks across EVM and BTC ecosystem. And glad to meet our new friends here from Zephyr, Particle, and Zion. And thanks, Moa, for the host. And pretty much look forward to for the AMA today. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Clara, for the intro. Following that, we'd like to welcome Tabasco, head of dev relationships from Particle Network, to introduce yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We have a nice panel here of some familiar faces. Claire, Maggie, and Bernd. I think we've had some chats in the past, so I'm looking forward to get into it here. As a little bit of introduction, as I said, my name is Tabasco. My real name is Ethan. I lead developer relations at Particle Network. That means a lot of different things. I do a lot of like marketing and content and stuff like that. The kind of scale on what we do at Particle is very simple. We do something called universal accounts, which is essentially sort of like a smart account mechanism that gives users the ability to have a single balance across all chains. So if I have some USDT on Base, some on Arbitrum, some on Polygon, I actually have that collective balance I can use anywhere. It effectively removes the need for users to ever bridge. They just have their balance and they use applications, and this is what we build at Particle through something called universal accounts. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting topics that we can go through throughout the panel today, so I'm excited to get into it, and I guess I'll hand off to Moonlight to let Bernd do his intro as well.
Nice. Thank you so much, everyone, for the insightful instructions, and definitely inspiring to hear about diverse approaches, right, and groundbreaking work that all of you are contributing to the blockchain space. And let's go directly to our very first discussion topic. We would like to talk about the role of blockchain abstraction and how it simplifies operations as well enhancing interoperability. And we would like to check if any guest speakers wanted to share your views on this topic. Thank you.
Oh, I just wanted to say that for this question, I wanted to go last because like all of the other three projects, they are very established service provider in the chain abstraction space. And our service abstraction is kind of, based on the chain abstraction. So I'll go last.
Sure, Maggie. Yeah. So, to expand the question, we know that the raw chain abstraction technology primarily manifests in three areas, right? Simplifying user operation, enhancing interoperability, and driving widespread adoption. However, the term abstraction has been a hot topic in the market. So we wanted to hear from each of our speakers. How do you assist users or your clients in simplifying operations and increasing interoperability? Thank you.
Yeah, happy to take this question, and I think Bernd needs no introduction, so I'll let him do his answer to this in a moment as well. But
Oh, yeah,
I was
sure.
gonna say the same thing to you,
it's-
dude. I'm like, I feel like you've said this a lot of times.
yeah, it's all good. I think so. Like to address kind of part of the question, which is like, so what does abstraction actually mean? I think that sometimes people still some sort of misunderstand what is the scope of abstraction. So abstraction is not a new idea that we're like creating in Web3 as some buzzword. It is abstraction is a design pattern that is used in everything, even beyond just software. It's like whenever you start your car or turn on your washing machine or whatever, this is an abstraction of some underlying complicated processes that are happening. The in a software context, it's the same thing. So whenever whenever I'm watching a YouTube on a video on YouTube, there are lots of abstractions that are happening in the background to make that feel very easy for me. And I click on the video and I watch it and I move on. There's a lot of things happening in the background that are significantly more complex than it seems to me. In Web3, it's this exact same property. It's the fact that I'm doing things on chain, particularly we commonly refer to the idea of chain abstraction in a multi-chain context. So I'm doing things between different chains, and that those operations are abstracted to me. So as a user, the ideal end state of something like chain abstraction is that I can use applications without the necessity to mind the underlying chains that I'm actually interacting with. And so if I go and for example, do a transaction on Base and I buy an NFT, and then I sell that NFT, I can have funds on Polygon, and I go and use those funds for a transaction on Solana. As a user, it doesn't matter to me because those chains are infrastructural components. They are backend things that only really matter to the applications that I'm using. As a user, the thing that I care about is the operation that I'm doing in the application, not necessarily the underlying blockchain. And so therefore, the idea of chain abstraction is just the removal of users from that infrastructure. It is allowing them to only maintain a relationship with themselves and the application, and not that kind of third degree, which is the chain. Specifically, like the formal definition for chain abstraction that is commonly used is that it is a user experience exempt from manual processes required to interact with multiple chains. So it means that as a user, I don't need to bridge, I don't need to manage multiple different chain-specific balances, and so on. There are a lot of different implementations and forms of not only chain abstraction, but abstraction in general. As I'm sure Zion can probably expand on, at Particle, we focus on a very narrow part of abstraction in Web3 of chain abstraction, which is just giving users an account that they can use across chains without needing to bridge. This is all we do. We basically allow you to have a balance, and you can use the balance wherever you want without bridging it between chains. So we abstract away the need to bridge, essentially, and that's the abstraction that we focus on, and that's kind of the more narrow idea of chain abstraction. So that's how you can define it, and that's how you can understand it in the context of that term specifically.
Nice. Thank you so much, Tabasco, even for the explanation. And I'd like to invite Bernd from Zion, founder of Zion, since you were mentioned during the Tabasco's answer. Would you like to share your views with us as well? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's definitely beautiful. I think and it's funny because Tabasco and I have been in very similar spaces where we've talked about very similar things for quite some time. And I think in January we had a very different answer than what we do now. And I think in July we had a very different answer than what we do now. And it's beautiful to just kind of see how many different protocols are out there solving different things. And I think that chain abstraction can mean anything to everyone. In my mind, like I've seen chain abstraction flourish from what originally was probably like Zion near um, Everclear, which at that point was Connect, and then Particle at the same time, like four companies doing this to then what it is today. And it's genuinely beautiful because I believe that like all of us can come together to solve this one aspect of, hey, we understand that crypto is fundamentally broken from at least the UX level, and it's just clunky and it's awful, and we can't onboard people to what it is today. And so I think it's genuinely awesome to see this many people. It's awesome. Clara, I believe we were on a panel in Singapore. Tabasco, obviously. I mean, I think we've probably been on 40 panels together. And it is so awesome to see chain abstraction becoming what it is because of how fundamentally I believe in it and how genuinely I believe that chain abstraction is what will onboard the next million, billion, what have you uses.
Wow, that is definitely just beautiful. Thank you so much, Bernd, for sharing your experience and also an amazing journey with us. And next, we'd like to hear from Clara. Would you like to share your views with us as well? Thank you.
Yeah, of course. First, I like the analogy from Tabasco about abstraction has been a long, has existed for a long time, just like driving a car or when you get water, and also crypto right now, the UX is kind of broken. So to this question, our answer is what we call virtualization, and it's actually a word or terminology come from Web 2, because in Web 2, the cloud technology such as AWS abstract the physical servers to one cloud instance, and it opened up a golden age of internet application. So similarly, virtualization abstracts the complexity of managing multiple blockchain networks. It enables developer and users to interact with various blockchain ecosystems through a unified interface. So we are building a fundamental solution that is not a front-end aggregator or not purely outsourcing the cross-chain to solvers, which lets the fragmented liquidity remain, but we are a fundamental solution to unified liquidity. Thus, the UX problem will consequently go away. So how do we do that? We are inspired by the design of centralized exchange in 2019 and started the R&D about virtualization and founded Cycle Network in 2022. So our omni-state channel indexer will help to generate an aggregated state, which can be verified on Ethereum mainnet, hence inheriting the stability and security from the Ethereum. And through this verifiable state location, we can support purchase liquidity abstraction and offers users and developers a secure and trustless interaction across the networks. So to sum up, how we different is first, we focus on unifying liquidity from day one, and second, we are working on a pretty demanding but fundamental solution to chain virtualization. And also, I want to add on that when I talk to someone who doesn't know chain abstraction, they think, oh, you are just a next version of Bridge, or you are just a small part. But actually, it's a very big topic, and a lot of questions and problems are emerging, and we are solving them as a team. So glad to collaborate with every brilliant project in the field.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Clara, for sharing your insight with us. And next, we definitely wanted to hear from Maggie, Lisa for Network CEO. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Moonlight. Well, I feel like I'm definitely learning so much about chain abstraction from this space because, to be honest, I have a little bit of ADHD and never had the patience to really finish any of the podcasts before. But we actually borrowed the word abstraction from the chain abstraction project because, like, we kind of are the inventor of the word server abstraction for decentralized games. And right now, I don't think any of the other projects is doing something similar or actually using this word. And the way that we define it is like for game developers, we are abstracting away everything in the backend. So literally like a decentralized backend as a service. And I guess I'm the only non-technical person here in the speakers, and I will use a very, very simple analogy here, like a watch collection. Like if you buy a watch, it can be like, for example, a Patek. It has its like own factory that makes the engine, but actually you can also be an independent watchmaker and you can do your own like surface of the watch, but you can use someone else's engine, like an engine from Patek. So basically, the way that this is analogous to gaming is like in traditional game development, there will be a team that is dedicated for backend services, and they will be using a bunch of different services like cloud providers, real-time multiplayer services, data storage, caching, and like global distributed infrastructure, all those kind of stuff. There will be about like 10 different service providers that they use. And that this is for the backend for like data synchronization and like data storage, this kind of stuff. And there will also be a team for the front end, which is using Cocos and Unity engine to make all of the very fantastic visual effect that people see and feel in the game. And when it comes to Web3 gaming, the thing becomes more complicated because right now there's like two very major ways to build games. The first one is like a lot of the GameFi projects are using. They're maintaining a centralized database and using a lot of the traditional service providers for all those like game backend that they are using. And they also have probably a team of data analysts who is managing the mirroring between the on-chain assets and the backend data. And we think this is like a really bad approach because first of all, it's very complicated and scale the game from like 100 gamers to thousands of gamers. Like the synchronization between on-chain assets and backend data is going to be very problematic. And on the other hand, like the game can be shut down anytime. Although gamers have their on-chain assets, the backend is still centralized. And what we want to do is to provide the innovative approach to truly decentralize the game in terms of both the asset and the data. And we're doing this like ZK processing method, meaning that the game state transitions are kind of recorded in ZK proofs. And that is still verifiable on chain, but when you play the game, it can just happen off chain. So off chain execution and on chain verification. And for our stuff is like really by nature very chain agnostic because the prover network, which generates the ZK proof, is off chain, but verification is on chain. It can be verified on any chain. Like you can have a game interface on Tom, and you can verify the same proof on Tom. But if say you wanted to migrate it to Ethereum, and you can have the verification layer on Ethereum. So the way that we actually need to use chain abstraction is to like use a universal account to manage all those like assets on different chains. For example, if you have a game with front end or interfacing on Ethereum and also on Pound, you can just use the chain abstraction service to wherever the game actually take place. Yeah, so kind of like I guess like a client to all those like very good chain abstraction services that are in the space right now.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Maggie, for sharing your insight with us. And also to all, thank you for sharing insight, right? How abstraction is actually woven into each of your projects. It's also clear that abstraction isn't just a buzzword, right? It's a really important critical element that could redefine user experience and time. So those examples that each of you provide really demonstrate how the solutions stand out and address users' needs. Next, we have a dedicated question to Maggie Liso from Zephyr. We know Zephyr server abstraction and ZK proof mining networks, and we would like to go deeper, right, to this one. So the question is, you like to elaborate on those two aspects? Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So as I just covered a little bit on how actually our server abstraction work. So we're still very early in the space. Like our goal is to really transform how decentralized the games are built and considered by the gamers for like billions of gamers out there. I think right now, like me as a user isn't that verified for blockchain over the past few years because like some games are not performing very well, some are not decentralized, some has like really perform well, and then because they don't have a sustainable economic model. And what we want to do is to really change that, and I believe that's going to take some time, like maybe 10 years people will say, oh, like this is what these games should really look like, that should actually record state transition. On chain instead of just putting the asset that is not composable on chain. And in terms of the proof mining network, like I guess like to explain a little bit of the process of how the data is managed in our network on a very high level is like when the gamer, like for example, I play a game, I play like a tile matching game like Candy Crush, and for every step I make is actually off chain. But for like say 100 steps, after 100 steps, I generate a ZK proof locally, or for example, a ZK proof is generated in the prover network, and then it is submitted to the verification contract on the chain that it is deployed on. And this process of sending the data to the prover network and then generate the ZK proof that actually verifies or stores all the off-chain data is the is where the prover network comes in. So right now we are working on the prover network product. We're going to launch a campaign next month to onboard hundreds of like community provers or miners or validators, whatever you call them. So those community members are going to provide their computers or machines. We call it true deepin because in the process, our stuff is very unique compared to other mining network that by nature, the game circuit by design is very different. It can be 10,000 times different. Like we have games that is written in RISC-0 ZKVM that needs to be calculated by a GPU machine, or we have like really small game that we have launched a playtest in the past that can just be calculated by the gamers with their personal computer, because game by nature is just very, very diverse, and you can compose it to create a really big game, or you can just do a very simple casual game. So by nature is very, very diverse, and we're going to launch this network to onboard a lot of like hundreds of testnet participants to provide their servers to the network and generate the proof for the gamers. And on the other hand, we have about like 30 games that we're working with right now, including some of the really big studios that we are about to announce very soon, and also some of the hackathon winning, award winning games that will probably generate like 10 or 20 ZK proofs per game. And in the past, we have had about 1 million addresses that have participated in our past playtest. And now we actually have our own layer 3 on top of Linea to provide the zero gas gameplay for the gamers. So I'm expecting like during next month, we're going to launch like about 10 games on this network, and also like maybe 100 community testers to support the proven network. Yeah, so I guess like that's a little bit more details on our proof mining network. Yeah, and maybe one more thing that I like to mention here is that we have our own layer 3, but like layer 3 is kind of a demonstration environment to showcase it to the game developers that we have this network that is dedicated, designed for ZK games, because we have a lot of pre-compiled contracts embedded in there. So you can think of it as a standard OP stack that is embedded with some of the ZK game engines that we provide. And this network is standard EVM, so it can integrate with any of the chain abstraction providers. Like I think we have plans to integrate with Particle Network, and we already integrated with their wallet. So maybe just one quick advertisement for us is like, if you want to talk to us about partnership, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Maggie, for breaking down all the details, right, in terms of Zyper's approach to server abstraction and external connection with ZK for mining. So everyone be sure to reach out to Maggie or contact Zyper's official handle if you would like to further, learning about abstraction or collaborating with Cypher. This is definitely amazing project. Thank you. And following that, we would like to talk about collaboration with other projects or ecosystem and the future of chain abstraction. So over here, we are going to ask everyone of our guest speakers, how does your collaboration with other project or ecosystem drive the implementation of abstraction? And can you share any successful partnership examples or some use cases? Additionally, how do you perceive the role of chain abstraction in the future development of blockchain? Thank you. And if you could share some trends or insights that you foresee, that would be amazing. This is a open mic section, so feel free to open your mic if you would like to. Clara, I see you. Yeah, would you like to go first and then Bernd? Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So about the collaboration, first we have the layer 1 and layer 2 with user acquisition via Piggyback. And Piggyback is on-chain asset management platform powered by Cycle Network. For example, a user on BNB can use BNB as gas fee and mint an NFT on Better Chain in one click. So before a user needs to acquire like a new gas asset and bridging the asset to a brand new chain, and not only the asset they want to swap, but also the native gas asset on the destination chain. So kind of hassle. But now they can participate in new ecosystem without worrying about the cross-chain asset management. So this will significantly decreases the entry barrier for users to these new layer 1 and layer 2. So via this piggy bank, we help our partners with user acquisition such as BVM, IOTX, Artella, and Barachain, and we help them to acquire 40K users in 2 days. So besides, we will launch a new product, Goose Farm, an on-chain hybrid U protocol based on Cycle Network as our next step. So for this Goose Farm, we work closely with Symbiotic and other team building restaking, and more information will be launched soon. And that's pretty fun because like that's basically a golden goose, and also the marketing team is pretty fun as well. And about the role of chain abstraction, the second question, directly quote from Vitalik is chain abstraction is the future. But the problem is why, right? Because we are moving towards a generation of no longer overwhelming tech narratives, but real application which is accessible, approachable, and benefit for the users. So based on this background, the complicated UX and fragmented liquidity is something we must solve. And among the approaches of chain abstraction, we think chain virtualization is a promising chain. It is true that the intent model, which personally I like it very much, can significantly simplify the UX. But we think like based on this model, the liquidity fragmentation remains. I mean, like for example, the solvers still need to face the rebalancing costs, right? So, but like compared to this chain virtualizations, it's more like a more fundamental way to create a unified interface for not only users but also developers, so that we can arrive at a booming stage of Web3 application, just like how cloud virtualization served to the Web2 application. So that's one of the things that we are working on right now. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Clara, for sharing your views with us. And I would like to check with Bernd because you also opened your mic previously. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I think I can't be remiss to pass it over to Tabasco after this, because I know Particle's doing amazing things with amazing partners as well. But yeah, I mean, we've done chain abstraction to a bunch of amazing partners that we love working with, and a bunch amazing more. Like in the past, we created the most ever interchain accounts when we launched our chain abstraction solution, New Injective. And then we broke that record by then launching to Neutron. And then say, I think Camp Network is next. And AVAX, Solana, I mean, you kind of name it, anything kind of goes. We have some really cool stuff coming with Barachain, and Polygon coming soon. But, you know, I think it's remiss to say that, you know, it's hard to be chain abstraction without working with a bunch of L1s. And I think I have to pass the mic off to Tabasco to finish that off.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think that to take a step back real quick and like kind of look at how do you actually implement chain abstraction as it relates to like collaboration and whatnot. Chain abstraction is not a single pronged like technology or issue or whatever you want to call it. Chain abstraction, at least the way that I see it, is that it can only be achieved through multiple organizations, multiple technologies that are working at different points in the stack that are solving different problems. And so typically the easiest way to understand like how do you actually achieve chain abstraction with multiple different organizations working together in terms of like the actual implementation of it, you could look at it through three layers. So you have number one, the application layer. These are going to be projects like, for example, Agoric, Socket, if you guys are familiar, Cluster, things like this. These are essentially solutions that allow developers to orchestrate transactions across chains. It's a more developer-facing chain abstraction implementation. Below that, you have account level chain abstraction, which is sort of what we do at Particle. This is what gives users the ability to maintain a unified balance across all experiences on chain. And then the third layer is you have the blockchain layer chain abstraction, which is specifically going to be projects that kind of enable protocol level interoperability that solve for fragmentation at like an infrastructural level, not just a user experience level. And so at Particle and you know many other chain abstraction projects, like we all kind of work collectively as a vertical to create this experience by solving those problems at those three different layers. You can granularize it more and look at like if you look at the rollups ecosystem map, there are more components of this that fit into the larger chain abstraction vision. But at a high level, you can understand it in those three ways. And so to actually achieve it, you need collaboration at these three stacks. Specifically, the way to understand it is that chain abstraction is produced through vertical collaboration, so collaboration between the three layers, and competition horizontally, so between blockchain level, account level, and application level projects. And so you have this optimal kind of outcome that is enabling the full chain abstraction experience. Um, in terms of, if you look beyond the enablement of chain abstraction itself, and to wrap that up, at Particle, we specifically work with a lot of different guys. Like we work with Agoric and Cluster and NodeKit and Avail, and a lot of these different guys that are kind of producing solutions also in the chain abstraction vertical, that we push like a paired implementation of their solutions in ours a lot. And so that's kind of within the confines of chain abstraction. If you look beyond that, of course, a lot of chain abstraction providers work directly with wallets, for example. So this is very common, especially at the account level. They implement chain abstraction solutions within wallets themselves, which is an effective way of distributing kind of this type of experience to end users. You have working with dApps directly. We do this a lot as well, especially with some of our past products. We work with many applications. We work with a lot of public chains, stuff of that nature. So anything that ends up interfacing with an end user, most chain abstraction projects do work with them to actually achieve this vision. To wrap it up, kind of the second part of the question that you asked, which was regarding some kind of predictions for the future. The way that I always look at it in the context of chain abstraction is that chain abstraction is still a incredibly new and unrealized vertical. So much so that like there are very few real implementations of chain abstraction that are out there. I would say that most places where you see the word chain abstraction being used is not actual chain abstraction, and it is not the way that we described it on the space today. Because real chain abstraction is very difficult to be implemented. There are very few people that have actually even had proof of concepts. Zion are one of them. We've had one that we're still working on that's going to go live pretty soon on mainnet. You have Cluster and some of the other guys that have produced real proof of concepts for like the more user-facing implementation of chain abstraction. But these are, at the moment, in a lot of stages, mostly proof of concepts. There are very few products that are actually using this type of design pattern. And so what I would expect to see is that, especially like starting in Q4 and going into early next year, we're going to start to see a wave of materialization of this narrative. Chain abstraction is an invested in narrative, and so there's a lot of organizations in this vertical that have big investors. There's a lot of money behind it. There's a lot of activity behind it, a lot of discussion behind it, and so there's going to be the initial kind of actual materializations of this technology happening very soon, even I would say over the next few weeks, few months, and then is going to really pick up speed throughout next year, up until the point where I think ideally, like optimistically within 12 months, maybe longer, I think most new users in this space will have a chain abstracted experience by default. So their first experience with Web3 will be chain abstracted. I think that will be the standard for new users, maybe not existing users, but new users in the space that are onboarding. I think their experience will be chain abstracted by default within 12 months. If like super optimistically, maybe even within 8 months. But I think this is going to be adopted to a degree where that becomes the standard experience that most people use. And so this is how I see it. I think that it's eventually, over a longer period of time, going to become the experience. Like chain abstraction is going to be the experience that everybody adheres to. That's just how Web3 operates. And so it's not even going to be a narrative in a few years. It is just the Web3 experience, and that's how it works. The same way, I don't talk about like, turning on my car as, I don't know, engine abstraction or whatever, like cylinder abstraction. It's just, I'm just using it, right? So you're just using Web3. This is going to be the future, with chain abstraction being one of many components that enable that very rich kind of Web2 like experience. So this is how I see kind of the vertical evolving.
Nice. Thank you so much, Vasco, for also sharing your views with us. And we would like to circle back to Maggie. Would you wanted to also kind of like draw a conclusion of this discussion topic? Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Moonlight, can you please just repeat it?
Yes, of
Sorry.
course. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we are talking about the discussion topic number 4 in terms of collaboration with other project ecosystem and the future of chain abstraction. So if you could share some successful partnership examples or what trends or insight that you foresee in terms of the abstraction, or implementation of abstraction into your projects or ecosystem, that would be great. Thank you.
Oh, yes, definitely. So in terms of partnership, because we have like different layers that we work with different partners in different ways. So we got a few major partners that help us to achieve this, either server abstraction or really like abstracted developer experience. In terms of the gaming integration part, we are working with about 50 games, and around 30 of the games is actually live and people can play with it. And we have had like millions of users that have participated and generated like tens of millions of sticky proofs, which is amazing in terms of amount if you think about it. So um, for the next 2 months, we're actually going to allocate a lot of the resources to help promote one or two games that we have been helping with incubation over the past few months. So working with those a little bit more centralized or more traditional game studios is a very big part of our ecosystem building, because our stuff, as we mentioned, like we provide server abstraction. So for any games or game developers, if you have an existing game that already has a front end built with like Coco's engine, we just help you do the on-chain integration or data integration part for you. So just within 3 or 5 days, we can make sure that like your WeChat mini app is now deployed on Tom as a Telegram mini app. So in terms of driving successful adoption for our like game engine, we actually have strategic partnership with a few like game studios, and they have like really hundreds of games on their side. In terms of the gameplay, a lot of the game is very similar. So we can just use one set of game template for the backend and really adapt that to like maybe 20 similar games. And the games are different from how the front end is structured, but the back end integration process is all the same for us. It's just very similar to how if you look for Candy Crush on your Apple store, like for example, I'm in Northern America, and if I look for Candy Crush, I will see maybe 50 game with similar gameplay. They're all match 3 games. And what we do is we partner with this type of game studio and we do the backend integration for them. And they contribute to our proven network to make sure that the game is actually running, that is supported by our proven network. And on the other hand, like we are very unique in that we have some of the games that is just naturally chain agnostic. For example, we have a 24/8 game. It's a fully on-chain version of the 24/8 game, and like the gameplay or backend is actually running or built in zk-SecKit. And for this game, like it doesn't have a centralized server, it's just a set of smart contracts. So whenever we actually decide to work with some of the layer one or layer twos, we'll actually deploy the game there and without doing any marketing promotions. This is actually a gimmick that we have on the marketing side. And what we will do is we'll observe how many players are actually playing the game without, any official promotions. And we can tell like just how many players or how enthusiastic this community on this chain is. And for us, for example, we have a game that has been deployed on like 20 different layer twos. And in the next step, when we're going to have some like universal point system, for example, a universal like asset leaderboard for this particular game, will probably integrate with some of the chain abstraction service providers. So if you are as a user, you have participated in the same game on actually like 10 chains 50 chains. And now we can universally display like all those assets maybe in one wallet. And internally, we're still like discovering how to do it in the best way. So I think a very successful, a very important thing for us is like if they have participated in different different chains, see what they in the past. So for us, because our stuff is kind of like just by nature, we are very multi-chain. And having a very good universal chains is a very key part to our next step. In some of the chain abstraction partners is going to be very low level in terms of the backhand. When I'm not a technical person, I think on top of stack, and our stack is very low in terms of how in a transparent way. And after this data in the games, and then it comes to the wallet layer that manage those assets, like asset management experience. Right.
Wow, that's fascinating to hear everyone's about partnerships and collaborative efforts, right? Pushing chain abstraction forward. And all future trends also give us a better understanding of what chain action will be for blockchain evolution. Where are because I see we have many hands raising suggestions. So we can later we can pick up some good questions and then inviting our those questions as well. And the following question we're going to talk about is because we have in industry's most high profile projects over here. Okay, so and also that you wanted to achieve for the project or the ecosystem. First, we are going to bring the microphone to Zephyr Network.
All right. Thank you very much for light. So in terms of the next step, in terms of integration department or the team that is managing the games integrations or game templates to support different genre games. Right now, I'm getting a few different type of casual games, and in the next step, we are planning to provide like more with some of the CKVMs out there, like Risk Zero or Succinct, and also add new proof systems. For example, we're talking to Polyhedra, experimenting with some like new games. And in terms of three part, which is like a pioneer environment that we zero gas. And really fast ZK verification for integrating more developer tools from like wallet services to chain abstraction that we can think of is like one click to use the structure to provide one click migration for some of our game partners that we have a game called Crypto Rumble. It is one of the Binance Chain Hackathon winner, and it's been developing. We helped a lot with incubating this game. The game is preparing for launch within a lot of the attention is going to be helping with go-to-market strategies for this. Yeah, so like a quick overview of this that we're doing that about 3 teams. So yeah, this is the thing that people. So I guess we'll be sharing a lot on PRs and
Thank you, Maggie, for letting us know more about Cypher's. Wow, right? Within Cypher, a lot is wow, amazing. Network head of Eating Asia to share some updates or follow up plans. Thank you. Let me double check. Since I cannot hear Clara, is it my connection issues?
Yeah, I can't hear her either.
Okay, yeah, Clara, maybe following that, we would like to invite your partner.
Yeah, definitely. We pushed over the past month or so. We kind of premiered it events where you could universal account. Which is our technology. We're going to be launching a product like an actual consumer-facing implementation of universal accounts. It's going to be the application built, and that's going to be launching. And so we're very excited about that. That's going to be like the next step for us. Our SDKs are going to launch around the same time, and so we're basically structure and like the first product built using that infrastructure here. Like, and we basically finished everything that we want to in terms of the infrastructures, and we're really excited about it. We've made a lot of progress that we've been working to like finally bring what we've been talking about for so long to market before the end of this quarter. Really here, and we're going to be showcasing a lot of that out at DevCon. If anybody's going to be in Thailand, and so just in Thailand, we will be doing like demos. You can actually try it there in person, and then so moving very quickly. We're very excited about it, and we have a lot of things
So much, yeah, making a reality is and Nick to like to invite Bernd. Bernd is the founder from events or important milestones with us. Thank you.
Coming on, I think right now we working very closely with Union, and this comes with a product launching on well, it's kind of everywhere technically by Polygon, Aglayer effectively, but you know, I think alongside with the kind of particle ease, and we're probably going to be having a hackathon, and then just kind of getting ready for this. Really, the idea about what we're doing and everything with chain abstraction is just we want whether that be on doesn't really matter to us. You know, for us, it's going to be a lot of mainnet products just mask, which we're very happy about.
Nice. Thank you so much, Bernd, for letting us know about our head of beating Asia's Psycho Network to see if you could yeah here so if you we could but uh, that's okay. Maybe you can type some update for you, so that will work as well. Thank you. And 10 friends raising their hand. I highly recommend either in the comments so that we know in advance. We're glad to
Yeah,
have you
sorry
back.
that I don't know what's happened. Maybe it's because the golden goose bites my mic. So basically, we are going to like add a goose. So a cycle team started the research about chain virtualization in 2022. So now our infrastructure is becoming like more and more mature, and our developers to get the all-chain liquidity. But to be honest, at a like during this process, feel the all-chain liquidity by your infrastructure more directly. So our next step is to create an application, which is called Goose Farm, and it will be our signature orders. You can deposit your asset from any chain and get not only stable fixed yield, but also an AR from, because Goose is based on the all-chain liquidity from Cycle, so it can help you to find the best exploring chain virtualization for 4 years. So I think our next step is definitely the Goose Farm to this sassy goose, and then maybe it's because this goose is super naughty, so bite my.
No worries. Thank you so much. Wow. I'm glad to hear upcoming event. Time for us to start to answer our audience question, and we would like to I was yeah I think have audience check. I know sometimes it doesn't really work, so if try to bring just come back again and give it a try. Okay, I see both Ayumi and Ficat that are connecting. Let's see, audience over here. Also, be sure to post your question in advance in a comment to read what question that you would like to ask. And we hope that it's directly related to today's topic. Let me see. Okay, this one is actually interesting. So we have, these are all positive thoughts about abstraction, right? To using abstraction in to answer challenging, but I believe this might be a question in many
Yeah, I can just quickly hit this. I think is non-negotiable. There are downsides, but this property is the want to onboard consumers. It's a necessity in terms of creating an actual accessible user experience. But the main downside, the most chain abstraction specifically, is that by default, as a user, you do lose specifically bridging between chains and having to understand exactly every chain that I'm interacting with and every chain that I have funds on. Have direct knowledge of this information by default as a user, then to some degree, this is for them and they're no longer manually handling all the chains that they're interacting with, right? So Web3, a big part of Web3 is about having a chain abstraction is removing the control of managing these different chains from end users. And isn't this a bad thing? I think for most users, they would say, no, it's just I prefer, like, if you give most people, 99% of people are not going to complain about the fact that, they want to go and research the trust assumptions of one role versus the other. They're going to use the simple today. The idea is that abstraction is not going to be forced upon every end user. If you really will decisions based upon that interaction and things of this nature, then you can do it. That's not, we're not forcing you to worry about and like manage the chains that you're using. Again, that's not true. You're still going to the same control that they do today. But I think this is a good thing. It's relinquishing that control to entities that can handle it in a responsible. And so that is necessary. And so loss of control in some cases is a good thing, especially when it's something that isn't like common criticism that I see, and this is kind of the way that I typically respond to it.
Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for raising your hand to answer.
Of course, and it's always so fun. It's always either we either tee each other up or we piggyback off of each other. But I think very similarly. Pretty soon, that'll kind of talk about this, which is, I think there's a way to scale security and decentralization in a way that works very similar to how very call it random channels to be able to use the permissions. I think that's going to be very big, and I think that much more, and we've already learned so much more, right? And so I think every step that we take along the way, and I think we've had the trilemma of decentralization for a very, very long time. And a certain point is the nature of what we want, right? You look at where we are in the industry, and you were crossing the chasm of this. You want native things, and then you want the mainstream adopters who want complete solutions, and you information easier to access. But I disagree. I think we need to meet the users where they are, and I think everyone. Otherwise, we'd be here.
Thank you so much for sharing your. Would you like to? This is definitely a very interesting question. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So ask Jose about the less control, and I also see someone post the question in the comment. Abstraction doesn't mean that user will have less control. Then I will raise an example. Like for example, right now, if you send an email, and for actually a lot of servers, no matter virtual or physical, are involved. So if we at the like a use case of sending the email, then it will be you need to select every server it's kind of necessary for we to lose some control because not in every are more mature and there is already an SOP. We can just use some like a champ like decrease some hassles for the users. But of course, for some users, like a confidential party is gonna build a maybe a blockchain stack for the national security. And also I think one of the challenges for us is to how to like approach is to build an aggregated state. So one of the problem is how to build this in a very between like from two that like two perspective. First, like the like underlying stack. Like for example, we have a roll up. We have Cosmos, we have lots of projects. They say they can achieve like multi VM and also multi-chain. Curious about how do they do that? Because actually the underlying virtual machine is very different. Tech team on time, but we found that we still cannot reach the kind of centralization. We can achieve a very like safe chain abstraction in VMs, like include the Solana ecosystem and also Ton in it is one of the like a prop. The third part is actually about user habit because like for example for cross-chain use cases right now people or they go back to centralized exchange and for the user experience is if we are going to bring something new about chain abstraction is more safe, is more decentralized, and UX the complexity will be abstracted away. But in order to move to that goal, in order to move like how to say to attract people to make a lot for the especially some like users who are really sticking to go back to centralized exchange and do the cross chain because it's very cheap to down for many years. So I think for it's not actually not a problem for moving to the innovation and the new users will play a very significant role because it's very deeply rooted user experience in the centralized solution then they miss something called chance innovation. Then maybe they will be the driving force for us for the chain abstraction as solution to go to market. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Claire. We have actually over 5 comments over here, and it's so difficult to pick. Let me double check and also see more people to the space. But yeah, just bear in mind sometimes Twitter space rocks. So still reading the questions or the comments that you posted over here in the space. Let's try again. Okay, I see our audience are connecting me. Interesting. Let's try. Okay. I also check in the comments over here. Some of our audience saying that exactly chain abstraction is, and here we have just chain abstraction mean there will be no different blockchains. For example, no Ethereum chain, no BNB chain could help security for the users. Yeah, I know in Web3 and Tabasco. Yeah, I see you raise your hand first. Thank you.
Yeah, so like from a user to bridge between chains, that's going to be the easiest way to understand it. From just like if you have 5 USDC on base, you can use that 5 USDC on Solana, you can use it on Arbitrum, and you don't need a bridge just infrastructurally. So you're still using Solana, you're still using base, you're still using Arbitrum. You just know that you're using applications. Those applications are built on chains is relevant to bridge. You don't need to think about where you have your balances. The fact bridge network, that is exactly what chain abstraction is eliminating. The fact is removed. I can go to I can go to Walmart in the US and buy right with my credit card, and then I can go. I'm swiping it, really thinking about, oh, this is in Singapore, so I need to use some special. No, you swipe and you use it, and everything else that's in the background, which is a lot, is without needing. They're built on. You don't need a bridge. You don't need to think about where your balances are. Sorry, security enhancement. I wouldn't really say that chain abstraction is a net positive to security. Interact with you in terms of like choose the chains that you're interacting with, and they can make more decisions. Security, I don't think positive thing necessarily. I don't think it's a negative thing. I don't think it's really necessarily or negating it really.
Like, are easier to understand what exactly change up for. Yeah, she say the connection is not good, but she for chain, are there any existing wallet already adapt?
That about the wallet. To be honest, there are lots of solutions to change instead big tech like roll up or sharding. It's actually like for sound abstraction, you do need to change a new wallet. I see that not have the because people I think the level that the user can still use no matter like whatever wallet they want, but the user experience connected, then you can just navigate different chain as just Pascal mentioned, like so you just use it. So one we want uh, matter which water you use, and of course it needs to be a widely adopted watch which like which chain is it? Yeah.
Really answer our question. I see Burn also raise your hand, please. Thank you.
I think less than 1% has like the familiarity of assumption that the world knows how a wallet works is pretty full. Like the concept of wallet and a very big part of chain abstraction. Like I actually do like what particle network is doing, like T or ZK email, whatever it may be, JWT. But I think that wallet is going to be something that will, especially as we build using wallets flawed, and then I think that like we can then right, which is just not just completely build applications because they make solve works, and I find this like you call it a habit very, it's very like not killing this industry.
Got it. Thank you so much, Bernd, for yeah, we have over 60 comments and yeah, in total session. Thank you so much, everyone. And really to Maggie, Clara, Tabasco, and Bernd for sharing your insights are familiar with what exactly chain abstraction is after to and also deeper knowledge regarding all of our follow Zephyr, Cycle, Particle, and Zion for joining session. I see one comment saying, this is me, but so much for supporting us, everyone. Yeah. Join us discussion. Don't forget that the for if your question got selected, you also need to join Discord server and your rewards. Right? Bring your screenshot and share with us. We're going to stake exploring possibilities in blockchain.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah, bye bye. See you.
Guys.